Hypothesis testing involving one population. Chapter 11.3 is the first of 3 lectures that we're going to have on Chapter 11. We're going to be conducting hypothesis tests in this lecture from beginning to end. So while last lecture laid the foundation, this lecture is actually going to see a completed hypothesis test. 11.3 is all about hypothesis testing involving a population mean when you know sigma. So when the problem provides you with the population standard deviation. So we're going to skip over section 11.2 from chapter 11. That's hypothesis testing involving a proportion. We're going to come back to that, but we're going to start with 11.3 this lecture, hypothesis testing using sample means, which means we're going to be using a sample mean and trying to prove a claim about the population. So in problems in this section, we are going to be provided with a population mean, mu, and a population standard deviation, sigma. So every problem that we're going to do today is going to involve those things, and that's what's going to distinguish. Having sigma is what's going to distinguish the hypothesis tests that we do today from the hypothesis tests that we'll do at the next lecture. The null and alternative hypotheses, HO and HA, will be formulated with the words population mean. Okay, so we're going to begin to phrase the null and alternative hypotheses by stating the population mean, and then we're going to go on and formulate those hypotheses in the same way we did last lecture. There are 2 types of hypothesis tests involving a population mean. One is when you have the population standard deviation, when sigma is provided to you in the words of the problem, and that's what we have today. In that case, we're going to use the sampling distribution of means, and we're going to use the normal distribution. Okay, the sampling distribution of means is approximately a normal distribution, so we're going to base our test off of the normal distribution, the normal bell curve. When we don't have the population standard deviation, we're going to be using the t-distribution. So this scenario should look similar to what happens when you construct confidence intervals. In one case, you have sigma, the population standard deviation, and in that case you're going to be using the sampling distribution of sample means. In the other case, you don't have sigma, and so you're going to be using the t-distribution and t-scores. So remember from confidence intervals, you used to use the z-score if you had sigma, and you use t-scores if you don't have sigma. Well, we're going to do something similar. We're going to use the normal distribution based off of the sampling distribution of means when we have sigma, and we're going to be using the t-distribution when we don't have sigma. Today is all about the first type. Every problem we're going to see today is one in which we are given the population standard deviation.